Hi guys, you're tuning into Jae2alk, a faith-based podcast featuring Jesus and Janae. I'm your host Janae, and here I talk about my life and how Jesus has and is currently helping me through it. One important thing, here we listen and we do not judge, but if you choose to judge, that is between you and the big G-O-D. Okay, so today's episode is going to be about self-love, but before we begin, we are going to play a card game called Let's Get Deep. It's a couples card game, but you can still use the questions for yourself. So this is so you guys can get more intel about me, what I think, what I've been through, etc. The cards are pre-picked. I did not look at them. So with that being said, the icebreaker card reads, old music or new music? Definitely old music. I feel like new music, people are just saying anything, like everything goes viral. It's like not really about like the substance of the music. It's more about like the tone or the beat or whatever. I don't know. Old music. The deep card says, have you ever walked out of a movie? Which one and why? No, I've never walked out of a movie before. No. The deeper card reads, give an example of a time you felt undervalued. Considering this is self-love, I'm going to just say like at work, I feel as though like when I work, where I have worked, I've worked with kids with like behavioral problems in most of my jobs, like most of my like current jobs. And so I feel like I was undervalued there because a lot of the kids cling to me. And like, I'm not trying to say this overconfidently, but I would say that the jobs that I've worked at, the kids do cling to me. And I feel like it's because I'm such a like soft, nice person. I am stern with them because that's how they learn, but I am really sweet, gentle, and nice, especially when it comes to kids, especially kids who aren't used to that. And so I feel as though a lot of the kids cling to me in every job I've worked at, and I did not feel valued by management. I would say I feel like I was overlooked a lot. I don't know if it's because I was young, I don't know what it was, but I felt like I was undervalued. And honestly, I think it was just God. Like I feel like Ecclesiastes 3:1 says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. I think that's what it says. And so I just feel like it wasn't my time to be seen yet, and so no hard feelings, but that's the time I felt undervalued. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next card game, and we have Talking Points Christian version, and basically it has 4 different colored cards. Each color represents a different meaning. I'm going to pick randomly from each color. And then when I read the card, I'll read what kind of card it is. So starting off with the red card, it says, in whose name should we pray? We should pray in Jesus' name. The answer says we should pray only in the name of Jesus Christ. Yes. The green card says, if someone is, it's the world around us, by the way. It says, if someone said to you, I don't believe in God, how would you answer? If someone told me that they didn't believe in God, my first answer is why. And I always follow up by saying, I'm not judging you, I'm just asking. And then after they, like, some people say, I don't know. Some people say they didn't grow up believing in God, etc. I usually respond by saying, like if they're like, I don't know, I usually ask, because this has happened to me. Like I ask everybody if they believe in God. So if people say no, my first question is why? Nah, I'm not judging you. They respond. If they say that they don't know, I usually ask, like, is it because you didn't grow up really believing in God? Is it because you've gone through something and you feel like he wasn't there for you? Like, what is it? Because there is a reason why people don't believe in God. And so from there, I like personally share my experience where I felt let down by God or alone, and it's usually the story of my mom passing away, and that's how I build conversation about it. But no judgments to people who don't believe in God. I just pray for their souls. And yeah, The blue card says is personal beliefs, and it says, do you think it's possible to believe in evolution and the Bible? Why or why not? I do think it's possible to believe in evolution and the Bible, but to an extent. Like the Big Bang Theory, obviously I don't believe in that. I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory. I don't believe we just had a boom and then everything and everyone's just, I don't believe in that. My answer is I don't know. However, I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory. I believe in God, and I believe God created everything. When it comes to like dinosaurs and stuff, I believe that there were supernatural beings before us. Like giants and stuff. I believe in that, but not in a way that people do, I guess. Like biblically, I do, but my like answers, I don't know. And the yellow card is faith journey, and it says, what have been the most significant parts of your faith journey? I would say believing what God spoke to me regardless of what I'm seeing. I'm currently in a wilderness and isolation season, though I feel like it's ending. However, like in this season, it's been so rough and so hard, and it's hard to hold on to the things that I know that God has spoken to me because I don't see it happening. However, I feel as though it's built me the strongest I've ever been, and I'm starting to now see certain things He's spoken to me. And so I don't feel as though you're always going to have like the strongest faith ever, but the times that I slip up or backslide, it just leads me closer to God every single time. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, because I do feel extremely guilty for backsliding. But I feel as though it's been the most helpful, because every single time I come back, I realize why things are happening the way that they're happening. And so I would just say, like, continuing to try to keep the faith when I don't feel it, like when I don't see it. John 13:7 says, what you don't understand now, you'll understand later. And it's just like, yeah. So I would say the most significant part has been the troubling parts, the wilderness parts, but it has built my faith so much stronger. So I would say it's one of the most important things that I've gone through is this wilderness and isolation season. Yeah. And now we're going to move on to my favorite segment of the day. And for my favorite segment of the day, I have quote of the day on the way. Okay, so for quote of the day is basically where I provide a quote and a Bible verse based off of the topic at hand. So today's topic is self-love. And so with that being said, and I give a takeaway message based off of the two. With that being said, the quote reads, treat yourself like someone you love. And this is from Jae2alk. The Bible verse is, and the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And this comes from Matthew 22:39. Okay, so basically my takeaway message is that, by the way, I have my iPad right here because it has my notes. My takeaway message is that everyone and everything is interconnected. We are all made in God's image, and we all deserve love. Just as you want the best for yourself, make sure that you're desiring that desire for other people as well. Treat yourself the way that Jesus has and is currently treating you, and then extend that same love and grace to other people. You cannot love your neighbor if you cannot find love within. Find love from within. Self-love is the best love because it is the first love that you will truly know. Okay, so with that being said, I am going to move into the testimony of, or the topic of, self-love. And to start off, I am going to read the definitions, or my definitions of self-love. Disclaimer, I do understand that everyone has their own understanding or definition of what they believe self-love is. So for me personally, it's a state of appreciation for yourself that adds value to your life spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Spiritually, yeah, yes. It's about having a high regard for your happiness and your needs. And then I would say self-love is not sacrificing your peace for another person or other people or other things, etc. So for the sake of this episode, I am going to break this up into 3 subsections, one being physical self-love, the next being mental and emotional self-love, and the last being spiritual self-love. I do understand that everyone has their own opinions of what self-love is, but I want to break self-love up into different categories because I believe there are so many different types of self-love. So to start off with physical self-love, I would like to say that I personally feel like you can value yourself physically without having vanity or without being vain. And so basically, vanity or being vain is when you are confident but overly confident. So since we're talking physical vanity, physical vanity could be like, I'm so pretty, or look at me, or I'm this, or my body's this, but it's just like all the time. Me. That's vanity. That's conceited. That's overly conceited. When it comes to like, it could be, vanity can also be, I'm so good at this. So like you're overly confident about your achievements or your skills. So I do this so well. Or did you know that I won this and I won this and I won this and I do that and I do, like, that's vanity too. Like I feel as though there's a way to compliment yourself or, you know, be humbly, like a humble brag or a humble flex. I think there's a difference between that than just like you overly like boasting about what you look like, what you can do, what you've accomplished, etc. And so Proverbs 31:30 states that charm is deceitful, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And so charm is deceitful because charm is temporary. Charm doesn't last forever. You're not always, since we're talking physically, you're not always going to look like this. You're not always going to have pretty privilege. Charm is deceitful because it's temporary. Beauty is fleeting. So beauty is the most superficial part about a person, and also beauty is also temporary. Not to say you're not going to forever be beautiful, but you're not going to forever be beautiful young, or, you know, so beauty also temporary, superficial. And I feel as though beauty is the most unimportant part about a person. I feel as though beauty is the most unimportant part about me personally as well. But a deep reverence or a fear for God is what leads to wisdom, righteousness, and eternal life. And so I seen a quote on Instagram that says, "Do not let your pretty privilege decline in heaven." And so I thought that was like really, like a really, like, I thought it was like funny at first, but then I'm like, you know what? That's so real. Like, don't let your pretty privilege decline in heaven, because I feel as though with social media so prevalent in today's society, people are so hung up with being pretty in the way like social media describes pretty. So having your hair a certain way, having your lashes a certain way, your eyebrows, your body, etc., like your teeth, even, like every single thing is like made normal, and like it's to the point where everyone looks the same. And if you want to be conventionally attractive, you have to have a BBL, you have to have, you know, veneers, you have to have a weave or a wig or etc. Like I feel as though beauty standards have allowed people to think that you have to look a certain way to come off as beautiful or pretty or deserving or etc. And that's just not the case. But when it says don't let pretty privilege decline in heaven, you have to understand that when it comes to vanity, looks are the most unimportant thing to God. Like, God does not care about what you look like physically at all. He doesn't care about that. He sees us for our heart, what we do, what we don't do, what we think, what we don't think, how we act on what he tells us, etc. God does not care about our physical looks. And personally for me, when it comes to vanity, I used to struggle with vanity heavy, especially when I was in like high school. I was quick to look in the mirror. I was quick to say, I'm so pretty, I'm so that. I wouldn't do this like outside. Like if I was to go outside my house, I would not do this. I wouldn't really look in the mirror, or I don't know, like I didn't really focus on my looks outside because I don't know, like when people compliment me and all that stuff, it makes me uncomfortable. Even then, when I was like overly conceited, it still made me uncomfortable when people are like, you're so pretty, you're so pretty. It's just like, like I say thank you, but like it's just like an uncomfortable feeling. But at home, I would just be always in the mirror, always, I'm so pretty this, I'm so pretty that. And my mom had to be the one to be like, girl, stop. Like, that's not cute to always be in the mirror doing that and that. And like back then, I'm just like, but like now I see like it's really not cute to always be in the mirror talking about your looks, because looks don't really matter. Like, I'm not going to say that pretty privilege hasn't helped me with things, like it hasn't gotten me things, because it has, but I prefer favor from God than pretty privilege, because favor could get you things that pretty privilege could never. And so I just, like, it's not to say I'm not appreciative of pretty privilege, but I have like been, my mind has been so transformed from like that way of thinking that I do not think I'm ugly, but like it's like at this point I've heard it all before, like you're so pretty and all this other stuff. So it's like at this point compliments mean absolutely nothing. And when it comes to like relationships and stuff, for me, when I'm like, if I ask a man, what is your favorite thing about me? The man is always saying, oh, my favorite thing about you is that when I'm down, you always make me feel this. Or when I was this, you did this. Or this. Like, it's always what I do for them. A man has never told me, like, if I ask a man, what's your favorite thing about me? He's not going to say your heart. He's not going to say the way that you're so, like, you're so close to God. He's not going to say the way you pray. He's not going to say any of that. He's going to say, oh, yeah, like, it's just like what you do for me. How you make me feel. Like, you know, like being pretty, it gets old. Like, and it's not to say I'm not appreciative of the face that I have, but it's just like, it's the most unimportant thing about Jae. And God has even worked on me with vanity when it comes to men. So when it comes to men, I am delivered from like lust and sexual immorality and all that stuff. Like, I've been abstinent since August, because that was my last relationship. And lust, like when I see a handsome man, like for the most part, I just look at him and be like, okay, he's handsome. And then I look away and I go about my business, because handsome faces mean nothing. But I still, it's not to say I'm perfect, because obviously I'm human. So I still have lustful thoughts sometimes. Like the other day, I saw Chris Brown like in an interview, and I'm like, oh, he's so fine. Then I had to look up at God like, oh, sorry, like you spent your time with him, but I'm sorry. And I had to rebuke the thought, and I had to repent for it, because not only like God has somebody for me, so, and you know, I'm in my Esther season right now. So it's like, girl, why are you complimenting another man when you have a man? You know what I'm saying? So I just had to rebuke the thought. I had to repent for the thought. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm sorry. Son of my future husband. You know, like, so it's not to say like I'm not gonna, like, I don't struggle from it, because I still do. But I don't look at men the same way I used to. I used to have a roster. I used to feel like I always had to text a man. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel so content with just me and God. And I know that when he brings the man for me to me, I'll be at a point where like I'm at a point right now where it's like I would like that, you know, I would appreciate that, but I don't need that. I don't need a man to validate me because I feel validated in God. I'm currently on a fast. Like I said, I'm in my Esther season, so I do a Esther fast every month. Most of the times it's the first 3 days, but I did do a 24-hour fast, a dry fast on May 1st, but wasn't enough. I had to do a 3-day dry fast. So you're not supposed to tell people when you're fasting, but by the time I post this video, my fast will be well over. So yeah, I'm currently fasting, and one of the things that I am praying for during my fast is to be delivered from the rejection spirit and doubtful spirit. I feel as though like I've been so rejected by men that I believe that I'm not worth it, and not worth, you know, someone who sees me for who I am, someone who sees my self-love and my self-worth, someone who sees me the way God sees me, and I know that I am worthy of that. And I'm at a point now where I am so content with just me and God that it's like, God, if you send them, thank you, and if you don't, thank you. You know what I'm saying? So, but God has also done a work with me in vanity when it comes to men, because I remember when I was in high school, I told my mom, like, yeah, my husband's going to be 6'4". I always liked tall men. And my mom's like, well, why do you need a guy who's 6'4" when you're only 5'3"? And I'm like, girl, shh. But, and I really thought that I was going to marry someone 6'4" up until like maybe a year ago or whatever. And God's like, you know, you're not, you know, and God had to really like do a work in me. Like, it doesn't matter how tall he is. Would you want someone who's tall and doesn't treat you the way I need them to treat you? No. So God has done the work with me when it comes to vanity. Looks don't really mean much. It's not to say that you can't, like, when it comes to like a partner, it's not to say that you can't like feel as though the person that you're supposed to be with is attractive, but it's just to say that they don't have to have every single physical quality that you wanted them to have, because looks aren't everything. God knows what you like. He's not going to send you someone who you feel as though looks like an ogre, or you get scared in the middle of the night like, ugh, I look too fast. Like, God's not going to send you somebody like that. He knows what you like, but when it comes to vanity, let go of the thoughts of, oh, he has to be this height, he has to be this skin color, he has to be this, he has to be that, because looks are the most unimportant thing about a person. And so with that being said, I would say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I genuinely feel as though everyone is beautiful in their own way. Even if you feel as though someone's unattractive, that doesn't mean that the next person deems that person unattractive. Conventional beauty, boo with it, you know, like, girl, boo. However, I still feel as though, like, let's move off of vanity now and let's talk about physical looks. I still feel as though when you look better, you do better, you feel better, etc. Not to say that your physical look should just depict your mood, like, to an extent where it's like, if you don't have this or that done, you're depressed. I'm not saying that, but when you look good, you want to do more, you want to do better, you know, like, you're motivated in a way differently. Like, for me personally, this, like, Jae2alk, if I look a hot mess, I'm not gonna want to hop on camera. And sometimes I'm like, girl, that's kind of vain, because this is about God. But it's just like, at the same time, you don't want to look unpresentable, you know what I'm saying? Don't get so comfortable with, like, not looking, like, not saying to look up to par, but like, don't get so comfortable looking like you just rolled out of bed and then think to yourself, well, God doesn't care about looks. No, he doesn't want you to look like you don't, like, love yourself. Like, so physically, I like to keep my appearance up. And because I am in my Esther season, God has been speaking to me about the way that I carry myself and present myself. So when it comes to, like, going outside, I'm not about to go outside looking a hot mess. Every single time I go outside looking a hot mess, God is literally convicting me, like, girl, what are you doing? Because it's like, for me personally, I'm in my Esther season. So that means that I'm preparing for not only just marriage, but for a different, like a new beginning, a different title. Esther went from being Esther to Queen Esther. So if my title is changing, then I need to get it together physically as well. Esther has to go through a whole year of preparation before she came into contact with King Xerxes, or Xerxes. Yeah, something like that. I think it's Xerxes. She had to go through a whole year of preparation before she even came in contact with him. She didn't even know if she was going to marry him or not, but she had to go through a whole year of transformation before even seeing him. And so God has been putting on my heart, like, you have to look presentable, because you don't want to go outside and see him outside and he looks at you and he's like, oh, that's not, you know what I'm saying? And it's not to say, like, people are like, oh, well, if he's for me or she's for me, then if they see me at my lowest, they should just love me. Not when they first see you, baby. If you see a man outside and he don't look presentable, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, that's my husband, so it's okay that he looks rough and he doesn't have a haircut and his beard's all patchy. And like, yes, you're supposed to love them for, you know, who they are, but you still want them to look presentable. So that's something God has been putting on my heart. So physically, I have a whole regimen when it comes to hygiene and stuff. I floss my teeth, I brush my teeth, I brush my tongue, I use a tongue scraper, and then I use mouthwash. When it comes to my body, I take a shower with both regular body wash and bar soap, antibacterial bar soap, because the antibacterial bar soap is what cleans you for real. The body wash is like the smell portion, and then I keep myself shaved because I feel cleaner and like just smoother shaved. It's not to say if you don't shave your body that it's just like nasty or anything like that. It's just hair. It's up to you. But I like to keep myself shaved. I get out the shower. I use oil, and then I use lotion, and then I use perfume. And yeah. And also, God has, because I'm in wilderness season and I don't have a job, I can't book my appointments the way I want to. So God has been making sure that I'm still keeping myself up to, like, you know, look presentable. So my silk press, I did it myself. Do you guys like it? This is the first silk press that I did that is like bone straight. I'm just so happy with it. Like, I love it. The last one I did was a little, I don't know, bumpy a little bit. It had more volume, but I like when I first get a silk press, I want my hair bone straight. So yeah, I'm happy with how this came out. I did my own nails. This one got cut, so I didn't put a nail on it, but I did my own nails. I always do my eyebrows by myself. I clean them up by myself. I use eyebrow makeup, so I don't really be caring about how my natural eyebrows look. I have on makeup now because I'm recording, but I don't usually wear makeup. So if I wasn't recording, I wouldn't have any makeup on my face. I did my lashes by myself. I don't always have my lashes done either. But yeah, like, this is just to show, like, I am still keeping up with my appearance, even if I can't book an appointment, even if I can't, you know, have my hair done the way I would like desire. I'm still keeping up with my appearance, not walking around looking dusty and just like I don't love myself. Self-love is also, you know, keeping up with your appearance without the vanity portion. It's not to say I don't take videos of my face or I don't look in the mirror, because I do. Also, physical self-love, going to the gym, eating healthy. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I've started to eat healthier, you know, like, that's self-love too, because you don't want to be unhealthy physically. So it's not to say I don't look in the mirror and think like, oh, body tea, or I don't look in the mirror or record videos and like, oh, I'm pretty. I do, but it's just like not overly doing it, not always in the mirror, not always being so like, I'm so pretty, I'm so that. Like, there's a difference, but you can still, it's not to say you can't value your looks or whatever. And when it comes to physical looks, I feel as though if you are conventionally pretty or whatever you want to call it, I think that God makes people that way for a reason. Like, I feel as though everything is God. And so if you are someone who people compliment, I think that you should be using your looks for God. And there was a guy that I was texting back in the day, and one of the things he asked me was like, can't people use their pretty privilege for good? And I'm like, yeah, they can. That's what I want to do. And I feel as though if you're attractive, people are more inclined to click on your videos. Like, and I don't mean that in like a vain way. Like, I'm being serious. Like, okay, so like, for example, if you're scrolling on TikTok and you see a man who has tattoos and he's really handsome, whatever girls like. Some people don't like tattoos. I like tattoos. So if I see like a man, he has tattoos, or he's, you know, handsome, he has a haircut, he looks put together, whatever, and he's talking about God and he's living a righteous way, I feel as though it makes people look at that guy like, oh, he's handsome and he's a man of God. It just makes them that much more attractive. And I don't mean this in a lustful standpoint. I just mean like in general, like wow, like whoever you marry is lucky. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're handsome and you're a man of God. That's a plus. And it makes women mainly more inclined to listen to him. But also if he's like fly or whatever, guys who, you know, might look up to him as well. You know what I'm saying? And so same thing with women. For me personally, if I see a girl who's like really pretty and she is a woman of God, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty and she's a woman of God. And usually like if they're like, they have vlogs or they keep up with themselves physically, but they still are really into God, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, ooh, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just makes you want to listen to what they have to say more. And it's not to say if someone is not conventionally attractive to you that you can't listen to the message. I listen to anyone who talks about God, but I'm just saying like it pulls people in, like girls, guys, etc. And I really don't mean that from a vain standpoint. I just genuinely mean it. Like, you're more inclined to listen to someone that you find attractive, I think. But yeah, or you're more inclined to like look up to them. Or okay, so when it comes to like mental and emotional self-love now, I would say that the biggest point that I would give, like the biggest advice I would give, is taking your own advice. Like, that's like the biggest form of mental and emotional self-love. So for instance, if your friend came to you and told you like, hey, my boyfriend's doing this, this, and this, and he's doing the same things that your boyfriend's doing to you, would you want your friend to leave him? If the answer is yes, you need to take your own advice and you need to leave him too. Like, and you need to leave him, because I feel as though when it comes to like self-love, we in our minds think of situations differently when it's another person versus us, and we love other people more than we love ourselves in a lot of cases, and that should not be the case. You shouldn't want better for someone that you love or someone you care about, but when it comes to you, you're accepting the bare minimum. You don't deserve the bare minimum. You don't accept the bare minimum. If you wouldn't want that next person to accept the bare minimum, why are you? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's harder said than done. I agree. I'm not judging. I've been in situations where I've accepted the barest minimum possible, worse than the bare minimum, the scum beneath people's shoe. But self-love is hard, and you should always choose you. You should always choose the harder route. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. And that's something that I have been learning over the past few months. And it's something that I'm extremely grateful to have grasped, because I am no longer accepting the bare minimum from anyone or anything, whether that be a person, whether that be a job, whether that be an opportunity, etc. When it comes to like accepting less than, do not put yourself in a position or a situation where you're allowing someone to evoke anger out of you or get you out of character. That is not self-loving. If you would not want someone else to be in that same position, do not put yourself in that position. Do not let anyone allow you to get out of character. That is against self-love. Do not accept less than you deserve. Do not accept something temporary happiness versus God's forever happiness, okay? Just because something could make you happy today or right now, or, oh, well, he treats me good sometimes, or he doesn't do this, but he does that, versus like what God has for you. Same thing with the job. Like, oh, well, it's not like the worst job in the world, but I know they don't treat me like the best. They don't really value me, but versus what God has for you, versus your purpose, something that could fulfill you, something that could pay you by something you love doing. Like, do not settle. Do not settle. Do not settle. Okay? Another point, when it comes to mental and emotional self-love, I would say do not people please. As someone who used to people please, I rebuke that spirit and I repented for that spirit, because people pleasing is literally like a drug. Once you do it once, you're gonna just want to keep doing it, because especially if you're like a really like overly nice person, you feel bad when you say no, but you shouldn't, especially if it's doing something that you really know you shouldn't be doing, or something you really don't want to be doing, just because you don't want that other person to be upset. If you don't want to do something, then don't do it. If it's going to allow you to be at a place where mentally you're like, why did I do that? Or mentally like you're upset because you did something that you didn't want to do, but you did it because you didn't want to hurt another person, don't do it. It's not worth it. You should choose you first. Always choose you first. And I don't mean this in a selfish way, but when it comes to like, like you can obviously like decipher what I'm saying based off of the circumstance, but what I'm talking about is not like giving. Obviously you want to give, but like I don't mean like in a selfish way, like monetary or anything like that, or like food wise or whatever. Like I don't mean like that, like you want to give, but I'm saying like in a situation where someone wants you to do something for them and you really don't want to do it, or you shouldn't be doing something that somebody wants you to do, don't do it so that you can please another person, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect you mentally, emotionally, and it's going to affect you mentally and emotionally, and it's not going to be worth it in the end. You're going to wish you never did it. So don't do it. Okay? It's your life. So literally you need to be pleasing God first and then yourself immediately after. Do not keep putting people before you. That is not self-love. That is people pleasing, and we do not want to people please. And also, when you say no to somebody about something you don't want to do, you don't owe them an explanation. Oh no, because no, the answer is no. The answer is no. The answer is no. It's okay to say no. When people say yes, they don't always give an explanation. So why do you need an explanation if you're saying no? Do you want to? No, I don't. It doesn't need to be explained. It's your life. This is my life, mind you. It's your life. It's your life. And lastly, the last point I have for mental and emotional self-love is basically taking time for yourself to do the things that you want and like to do. So for me, I like to pray. I love to pray. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me sane. It keeps me from being fast to anger. It keeps me grateful. I love to pray. I paint sometimes. I don't love to paint, but I do like to paint because I think they turn out nice. But yeah, so painting for me. I like to color. I love to color. Something I really love to do. I think it's peaceful and it keeps me like distracted. I like to color. I love vacations. I wish I was a vacation. I wish I was on vacation right now, but I love vacations. And car rides, I love, especially when it's like warm, like 70 something degrees, and I could just go in the car, roll down the windows and listen to music. I love car rides. I love sitting in the car too. Like, I'll color in the car. I'll just be at the riverfront, just looking at the water, coloring or praying or editing a video or whatever. Like, I just love being outside for real. So that's what I like to do to keep myself mentally and emotionally grounded. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the last point, which is spiritual self-love. So when it comes to spiritual self-love, obviously, number one thing I'm going to say is God, a relationship with God. I feel as though when you love God, you love yourself, okay? Because how can you really love yourself if you don't love God, or if you don't have a love for yourself from God? Like, you can't. Like, for me, I look back to when I didn't have a strong relationship with God, like on my Snapchat or whatever from like 2021 or 2020. I look back to me smoking and drinking and doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know her. Like, I don't know her. Skin patchy, dry, hair fuzzy, just a mess. Like, I just look sad. And I was sad. I'm not going to lie. I was broken. Back then, I was in an abusive relationship. It was just not good. But since I found my relationship with God, I have such a strong glow, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Like, I'm just a different person in totality. And I'm so grateful for God. Like, and I truly do love myself now that I have found myself within God. I've always felt like I needed to be in a relationship and with other people. So I just went from relationship to relationship, person to person. And since being alone, like, I'm just so grateful, and I love myself and I love my life, and I'm not always this happy. I'm not always this appreciative. I'm not going to sit here and lie like, oh yeah, every day is cupcakes and rainbows. No, I feel like this right now because I am fasting, and I found like every single time I fast, it's like I get back to that like connection with God, and my faith increases. And so right now I feel grateful. You asked me 4 days ago, I was depressed and I wanted to like just give up. Seriously, like, I don't feel like this all the time. Wilderness season is not easy. Isolation is not easy. This walk with God is hard. It will break you down, but God is just building you up. And so it's like, now I see why things are happening the way they are happening. I don't always see it this way. I'm not always happy. I have been really depressed and down lately. I'm not gonna lie, but I still value myself, and I still know that God is allowing me to see who's for me, who's not, what situations for me, what's not, what opportunities for me, what's not. Like, he wants me to, like, he's allowing me to be myself so that he can show me what is for me, what's not. Because if he is moving you into a new season, you cannot accept less than, because what he has for you is so much bigger than what you can imagine. God can do exceedingly and abundantly more than what we ask or imagine. Like, God can do so much more than what we think he is going to do or can do for us, and he wants that for us. So a part of my self-love like lesson from God has been to leave the past in the past, and that's something I'm currently like facing and doing, leaving the past in the past. Just because you were with that person, or just because you're friends with that person, or just because you work there or whatever, doesn't mean that you have to bring that into the next season. Some people, some things cannot go with you. And so that's what my relationship with God has been teaching me recently. Also, when it comes to self-love, it is a progress. It's a work in progress. You are going to have to continually and diligently I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You're going to have to continuously work on your self-love. So it's an action. It's ever going. Like, you can't just say, oh yeah, I love myself, and now you just have the most self-love forever. No. When someone comes in your life and the first time they do you wrong, you leave. The first time you look through their phone and you see that they're texting someone else, you leave. The first time they put their hands on you, you leave. The first time they raise their voice at you, okay, maybe you don't leave, but like, talking to God about who's supposed to be in your life and who's not. Somebody crossed you, you let them go. That job is continuously treating you wrong, and it brings you such a depression and it brings you down. You talk to God about it, and if he says leave, you leave. Like, self-love is continuous, accepting things that are good for you and letting go of the things that are not. And a lot of people like to say, like, oh, well, people can change. Well, allow them to change with God. Pray about it and allow them to change with God. That is the best thing that you can do. If someone is actually for you, they will come back changed. You cannot change someone while you're with them. It's not going to work out for you. They may change a little bit or whatever, but if you change someone while you're with them, they're not going to love you more. Choose you always, okay? Self-love is a continuous work in progress, continuously getting up and brushing your teeth, washing your hair, doing your hair, getting yourself together when you are so depressed and you don't feel like doing anything. Self-love is choosing you when no one else chooses you but God. Self-love is walking away from situations that no longer serve you. That is continuous self-love, and you need to continuously be working towards loving yourself, choosing yourself. Okay? If no one chooses you, choose yourself. Also, overcoming trauma. Overcoming trauma is a big part of spiritual self-love. Something that I had to do. Let go of rejection spirit, okay? Letting go of someone saying that you're not worth it or someone not choosing you. That doesn't matter. God chose you. That's a trauma, that's trauma that I had. Someone never choosing me. So it's like, if no one's choosing me, I stop choosing myself, and that's not okay. I had to rebuke that, and it's something that I'm currently working on right now in my fast. Also, the spirit of abandonment. That's the trauma that I have. As a kid, I was left alone a lot, okay? And so I kind of cling on to people. I have an anxious attachment style, but that's something that I have been working on in my isolation season and in my wilderness season, because you cannot bring old things into new seasons. Mark 2:2 says you cannot pour old wine into new wineskins. It's just gonna burst the wineskin. Like, you can't bring old things into new places. So overcoming your trauma is a very big, important part of self-love. You cannot, same thing with old habits. Like, if you're usually easily angered, but now you're stepping into a position of power, how are you going to react when someone treats you a certain way or someone talks to you a certain way? You can't go back to your old ways. You can't curse them out. You can't really give them attitude. You have to be professional. You know what I'm saying? So self-love is continuously working on yourself, letting go of things that no longer serve you, attitudes, way of thinking, the way you react, the way you respond, etc. And so now I'm going to list a few ways on spiritually how I have been working on myself. So I'm praying often. I fast. I'm currently doing an Esther fast, like I mentioned. And in this Esther fast, I'm breaking things off of me. Spiritually, I'm breaking covenants off of me. I'm breaking spirit spouses off of me. I'm breaking witchcraft off of me. Generational curses off of me. Like, that self-love is, if no one's going to go to war for you, do it for yourself. And that's something I'm currently doing while I'm fasting, besides listening to God and hearing him and doing whatever it is that he needs or wants me to do. I'm building my discernment while being alone, listening to God, who's for me, who's not for me, what's not for me. I am spending a lot of time outside. I love the wilderness. I love being outside. I love just feeling the wind and just being outside, whether it's on grass, and on a bench, at the park, at the riverfront, in my car, whatever. I just love being outside. Make sure that you get enough sleep. That is a big part of spiritual self-love. You cannot do well and really serve in purpose if you're sleep deprived. Okay, eventually your body's going to shut down and you're going to start to not want to do things because you're so tired. Make sure you get enough sleep. It's important to be alone and spend some time alone. That's how you hear God better. Also, finding a passion. What are you passionate about? What are your purpose? What did God put in your life for you to do? And the last thing I'm going to end off with is accepting your flaws but celebrating your strengths. understand that nobody's perfect and you're not perfect, but the quicker that you can accept that you're not perfect and accept your flaws, the quicker that you can realize that what you're doing may not be beneficial for you and you can work on them. But also celebrate your strengths, because everybody has strengths. Don't get so caught up with I'm not doing this, or this is not working out for me, or whatever. Celebrate your strengths, celebrate the things that you're doing well. That will also bring you to a point of gratitude and have your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health at a all-time high. And so for me personally, I have a gratitude list, because I was just so focused on the bad things that weren't happening for me, or the things that I wanted that I wasn't receiving or whatever. And I just decided to make a gratitude list for every single little thing or big thing that God does for me that I am appreciative of, just to go back to see God really was working for me and he really does love me. And so with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of self-love. Hopefully you guys tune in to the next episode. Not sure what it will be, but with that I say, I hope everyone watching has a blessed rest of their day, and in Jesus' name I pray, amen.